Hello and welcome to another episode of the Top Flight Show. I'm Rich Morrell, and joining me on the sofas this evening, we've got the usual suspect, race director, Mr. Chris Parr.
Good evening.
And special guest joining us, 338 man, 1333 5K guy. It's Cameron Allen.
All right, lads.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to have you on the sofa. I should have actually introduced you as a former winner of the Battersea Park 10K in the Top Flight Series. That's probably the biggest scalp in your athletics career to date.
I mean, to be fair, it was actually I was quite happy with that one, I'm not going to lie. It was a very fun and entertaining race. I love a bit of Battersea racing.
Yeah. We've had this on the pod a few times, haven't we? Like, Battersea Park seems to be such like a rapid course, and you always get good fields down there as well. So, yeah, it was a strong run there when you were out there. It was you and Omar Ahmed, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It was a very back and forth race. Well, like, I don't know, I felt like I was running quite confident and hitting the front, and I wanted to make it fast. Ran a lot faster than I wanted to, which I'm not going to complain about. But he took his fair share of the race as well, and it was nice to have that back and forth.
Yeah,
it's weird when you get two front runners, two people wanting a front run. It's hard to out front run Omar. But we found somebody who can do it, and actually, you won the OG of top flight racing, because the first official top flight was Newcastle 10K.
Yes,
last January 24, where it was a great sprint finish with Callum Johnson taking the win, dipping on the line. So that was a great way to kick off the series. And then you did the 1500 meters at Jarrow, and took the win there. So yeah, great supporter of the top flight events so far. So
I seem to do all right at them as well. To be fair, I don't win many races these days, but I like a top flight win, apparently.
Yeah. Well, 3 and 3.
Yeah, I know. Well, you might, as you put it, you might not win many races, but we were certainly saying prior to the pod that, like, your sort of stock has risen the past couple of seasons, and I feel like you're much more of a well-known name on the running scene now. Obviously, you've dropped like a 13:33 5K earlier on this season, and they had the 3:38 1500, which I thought was a real breakout run over that distance as well. But we're going to do things a little bit different on this episode, because we've got Cam on today. We're just going to strip things back and just get into you about your running. So I'll kick things off. Where did it all start with running for you then? What was like sort of your earliest memories of it and how you got into the sport?
It was very much like, I went to a school cross-country meet. I would have been in like last year primary school. Somebody from the local running club, Durham City Harriers at the time, they came down, invited me to the club because I won that cross-country meet. Again, just very local school meet. Mm-hmm. They invited me down. I went to it, did it for a couple of months. Didn't really enjoy it that much. Yeah. Not like just because I was preferring to play football instead at the time. So stopped for 6 months. Then went back to it and never looked back after that, really.
Yeah. And obviously you've been involved in the sport now for like a long time. And I had to look back through your power attend. I've noticed you've done a bit of time in America as well, and you've had a few different coaches and things like that. But was there a point sort of over that like period of time where you thought, actually, you know what, I'm pretty good at this, and I maybe should take it a little bit more seriously, or I want to take it a bit more seriously, and I'm curious of where I can get in the sport? Can you remember a point, or was it just something that like naturally evolved over time?
When I joined Horton and joined Lynn at Horton when I was about 16 or 17, that was me kind of deciding I'm much better at this run thing than I am at this football. I wasn't the greatest footballer, to be honest, but I could kick the ball, you know. So I thought, right, I'll take this a bit more seriously. Joined Lynn at Horton, got a lot better that year. Just the kind of general barriers you aim for as a kind of secondary school student, 9 minutes for a 3K, that sort of thing. Hit those barriers and got a nice taste for it. And I thought, I don't see why I can't take this a lot further. And then when I went to St. Mary's, I got very fortunate with how I got to St. Mary's, but went to St. Mary's and then really stepped it up when I went there.
Yeah.
Nice shout out to Lynn Cooper there, your coach from Horton. So Lynn's done fantastic work with quite a lot of athletes in the Northeast, and Horton are also having a bit of a resurgence again. And yeah, very well. We've given a few coaches good shout outs on the Top Flight Show, but Lynn's doing fantastic. She's also the regional council chair for England Athletics now, so she's putting a lot into the sport in the area.
Oh, she does a lot in the area, like you said, for the sport, and she's just an amazing coach as well, an amazing person to have supporting you. So she's not my main coach, but I still talk to her and I kind of keep up to date with her. Now I'm home, I'm going to go for coffee with her tomorrow and talk about how things are going. Mm-hmm. It's just nice to have a few people that are supporting you, and she's obviously one of the best in the North East at it, so.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing that, it's something that, I probably didn't do enough of when I was running, and maybe, other athletes out there don't feel comfortable dotting around and talking with different coaches about different approaches. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think, I don't know whether you were done that particularly much when you were with Lindsay Dunn, and then obviously you're with Nathan Shrub now. Was it something that would you tap into other coaches and ask for opinions, or were you just, no, this is the path I'm on, we're cracking on with that?
For me, it was more different athletes. I mean, I had quite a lot of different experiences because I had, Sid Robson when I was younger at Gateshead, and then John Stevenson, and then at Loughborough I was with George Gandy. After a while, you do get quite a breadth of experience there because a lot of the people who you train with have different coaches, and you might, go to, I went to train, maybe I did a session down at Aldershot once and spoke to Mick Woods and things like that. And then Craig Winrow at St Mary's. So for me, it was more like back to back different coaches, and then you pick their brains as you go, and then you said Lindsay after that, and then Nathan was involved with Lindsay's group. So I've got quite a lot of variety. But I wouldn't have said I went out my way to speak to other coaches at the time, but they were very much like Lindsay and George Gandy especially were very much of that mindset. They went and spoke to lots of people and then would come back and tell you lots of tales of how other athletes were training.
Yeah. And Cam, were you always, I know you mentioned like barriers there and like you're trying to get down like 9 minutes for 3K. Were you always like racing over the longer distances to start with, or did you start? I know like a lot of when you first get into sport, like you start off like at the 200s, 400s, then you eventually realise I'm not a sprinter, I'm a middle distance runner or I'm a long distance runner. Were you always like more at the endurance side of things? Was it straight away?
Yeah, I don't think I'm very fast over 100 metres anyway. So
yeah.
I've always thought endurance was my kind of thing. So,
yeah.
I mean, when you're at like 13 years old, your endurance is running 800s and 1500s.
Yeah, exactly.
Is an endurance event.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, it is. But that's always been 8s up.
Yeah. Did you do much speed work in your training then? Or do you do that now anyway? Because I noticed with that 330, it's like a lot of that can come from strength. And, I think the strength is obviously evidently there from what you've done over the 5 and 10K and some of your road exploits as well. But have you tapped into more speed work since working with Craig Winroll? Have you been doing a bit more of that? And do you think that's brought the 1500 time down, or do you just think it's purely because the engine's there now?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, Craig definitely has me doing more speed work. Yeah. Stuff like I'm just not used to, especially like this year. We did like an 8x200 metre session the other day, which is just something I'm just not used to doing at all. And that was really good. And I mean, when you can hop in with people like Tom Randolph, who's ran like I don't want to get this wrong, like a 144, 800. Yeah. When you've got that calibre of athlete around you and you've got like two lads in Joe Wigfield and Sam Charrick who've ran like 336, 335 for 1500s, you're going to touch into the speed and it's going to help you with your own middle distance racing when you do it. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's why we've been able to dip under that 340 barrier this year.
How are you finding training at St Mary's and working? Because one thing we haven't really touched on there is you came back from America. Often athletes struggle to replicate the jump that they make when they're in America. They come back and they find it very difficult because you're out of that setup where it's just designed for you to be an athlete, and then you come back and maybe have to work part-time or full-time, and like finding that balance becomes difficult. And sometimes people adapt to it, but it takes like a few years. It probably took me like a few years to adapt to it after doing like similar to you. I did like PGC and then started teaching full time. And then I actually knocked some hours off and days of the week so that I could like try and make the most of athletics for a while.
When you're working like 8 hours a week.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that was legit. That was it. Yeah.
That was
worked one day a week and he used to tell me he was knackered.
I was knackered.
You just spent the majority of the week stretching out, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. Tyrant stuff. But yeah, like how you finding that transition? Because I think last year when we had you in some of our races, and in the pre-shows, we were saying, hadn't quite replicated what you'd done in America yet, but you'd had some races look like you were on that trajectory, and it was only a matter of time. And then, I think there was a couple of cross countries where you probably didn't run as well as you wanted, and then the road races came and were up at the next level. So, yeah, how do you feel you've come with that transition, and how did it work? Because others will be looking and doing the same thing.
Well, since coming back from the States, I actually had a really rough transition coming back that I guess not many people would know about. I just completely quit running for 2-3 months when I came back from the States. I was completely spent. I was quite fed up of the sport. There's a lot of pressure out there to do well and to train really hard. Mm-hmm. And I just had been done with it. And it wasn't until a few mates persuaded me to get back into it and give it another shot that I decided I'd do that. Did Liverpool Cross with very, very silly tactics and led it out and ended up becoming I don't even know, maybe outside the top 100 or whatever. But then I was like, okay, being up there, it didn't feel like a hard pace, but I've obviously not trained at all for it. So maybe I do get back into it. So I did and enjoyed it alongside doing my PGCE and then bounced it around work. And now this past year, we've just been trying to transition into working 9-10 hour days as a teacher alongside training at the same time. So the mileage hasn't been anywhere near as high as I was on 2 years ago in the States, but we're just trying to find some consistency.
Yeah.
And I think it's worked quite well over the cross country and then leading into the track.
It's interesting. You mentioned the pressure coming back from America then and just being sort of done with the sport for a bit. What do you mean by that then, the pressure? Was it pressure that you were putting on yourself to perform, or did you almost feel it was an expectation from your peers in sort of the running community that, Cam's been in the States and he's done this, he's ran that, he's going to come back and do X, Y, and Z? Or was it more just the way that you were sort of expecting other people's opinions to be directed onto you? When you mentioned that pressure, what was that?
It was the pressure of wanting to help out, not wanting to help out the team, but when you're out in the States, you live in this little bubble of what's really important, and what is really important is making nationals, performing at nationals. Right. It's so important for the university that you're out. And because you're on a scholarship, it just adds to that pressure of, well, these guys are paying for my living pretty much.
Yeah.
So I want to perform for them. And you put pressure on yourself to perform well. And it just ended up burning me out.
Yeah.
Doing a 10K, 5K double at nationals, for instance, at altitude. It's just something that, as an athlete, I would never do, but you feel like you should because it's the best way to help the team out and score the most points. And then I didn't score any points anyway, so. Yeah. But then you come back from that and you're like, well, I'm just sick of feeling like I have to run and not doing it for fun anymore.
Yeah.
And then that's when I took a few months out. Lynn helped me back into it a little bit. And then I phoned Craig and I said, look, I want to get back into it, but I need somebody to help me do it properly. And that's why I work with Craig now.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, when I trained at St Mary, they've got floodlights now, haven't they?
Yeah.
You train on these now.
Up there. Yeah.
So the issue I had when I was there is the floodlights weren't there yet. So Craig used to give 2 options of a session. You could either do the morning session or the evening. And obviously all the students just probably sacked their lectures off and did the morning session. And then in the evening, Craig would still meet me, but it was me and 1 or 2 others, or sometimes I did a session on my own, or I just trained at Wimbledon Park track. So I'd gone down to train at St Mary's, but yeah, that didn't quite work when I was teaching there because I could only really do the Saturday morning. So yeah, it's great that you're basically doing what I went down and tried to do, but I couldn't quite work it around everything else that was going on in London without floodlights.
Well, I pretty much train on my own. So as much as it is really nice to have the group, and it's great now because I'm off for the summer, unless I have weeks off, I don't train with the group.
All right, okay.
But what is really nice is Craig, even if I'm finishing a bit late, he'll stay behind, he'll meet me at the track, and just having somebody there to keep you accountable. Mm-hmm. Or just to tell you if he tweaks sessions a lot. If something's not going right for me, if something is going right for me, he'll be like, let's do this instead of this rep. And that's really nice to have there.
Yeah.
And just that support. But in general, I do a lot of the running on my own. I like doing my easy runs on my own because then I can just dictate my own pace.
Yeah.
I do love doing sessions with the group, but it's just not really feasible a lot of the time because, like you said, it's a university group there. So they do midday sessions.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't do that if I'm teaching a class.
I tell you what, I might have said this on one of the podcasts way back, but the best thing I found about Craig's coaching, which I've told him, so there's nothing hidden here, but Craig is fantastic at looking at how the athletes are performing in the session and just making an adjustment.
Yeah.
And I've told the story a few times of when like Andrew Assaji was in amazing shape. And I think the session was something like 500, 300 twice. And he basically did this 500 and absolutely flew around and he just pulled him out of the session.
Yeah.
He's like, that's enough. You're just going to do 3 or 4 like runs. And then he went and ran, I don't know what it was, 145, whatever it was at the time. But I'd not really seen that done in any of the groups that I'd previously been in. It was like, well, that was the session, you just did the session. And people would either go out too hard and then run themselves into the ground, or they wouldn't run hard enough in the last rep lariat or whatever. But yeah, it didn't matter how many people were in the group. He was looking at the group as the session was occurring and making adjustments for individuals during that. And yeah, that was like eye-opening for me because I knew I'd like overtrained quite a lot, which is why I was always like stop-start, because I would just run as hard as I needed to, win every session that I needed to with myself or with whoever was in the group. And yeah, he is an amazing coach. I think you're in the right place.
Well, I love how calm and composed he is as well. Like, he knows how to handle a bad race, for example. I mean, it won't be a surprise to anybody that I'm not happy with my British champs from yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
It was yesterday, yeah. But
soon forgotten. Probably were the best scabs.
I think so.
Yeah.
But he is just really good at like letting me just vent out.
Yeah.
And then just calming me down and just reassuring me that it's all right. Like we were just doing walking laps of the warm up track after the race just to cool it down.
Yeah.
And now he's like, right, on Wednesday, I'll have went through all your training and we'll work out what went wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to know that you can trust somebody to be able to be there and support you and know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's just so important for an athlete.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing as part of a coach, as well as like the sessions, also that sort of nurturing sides and the sort of psychological support to support someone through the bad times and the good times. Touching on that then, you mentioned your training. Can you just give us a quick overview of what a typical week looks like for you as a training week around work?
So when I was running my most consistent and through the cross-country season, I was running about 55 to 60 miles a week. And it would be 2 sessions a week where I'd do Monday as an easy run, maybe like 6 to 8 miles. Tuesday would be the same. Wednesday would be a session on the track after work. Then Thursday was just like a nice easy day, just 4 to 6 miles. Rest day Friday, because Greg believes in a rest day, likes the body to be able to reset. Saturday I'd do like a double session, usually a double tempo, where I'd do maybe like a 5 mile, 6 mile tempo in the morning, something like 20 by a minute in the afternoon on the grass. Sunday long run, get up to at the most 15, 16 miles. And then in the track season, I suggested that we up it to 3 sessions a week at the start of the track season because I wanted to touch on the speed more, but I didn't want to miss out on the tempo. I didn't want to miss out on my longer track session. Yeah. We've done that. Maybe a mistake on my behalf because it seems to have just caused me some upset throughout the season. Yeah. But I think we'll be going back to the 2 sessions a week, but also knowing that my mileage at 60 miles a week at most isn't enough for somebody at my level. So we're going to try and pick it up, I think.
Yeah, that's a lot lower mileage than I was expecting. But I think, you're probably right about the 2 sessions a week, especially when you're working, because it's the mental side of it as well.
Exactly.
And it's so easy to overcook it. So it's easier. It's much better probably to be slightly undertrained and then race your way fit. It might take a little bit longer through the season. But I think when you are like a working adult, you have to do that rather than when you're at uni or younger and you can just like, you've got all the time in the world to recover, whereas you can't recover if you're on your feet all day.
And when you've got 2 sessions a week as well, where you only have one in the middle of the week, it lets you change the date of it and work things around. If you've got 3 sessions to do, it kind of has to be fixed. So if I've got like a parents' evening or something on the Wednesday, then we can session on Thursday instead or Tuesday. It doesn't make much of a difference, and you just switch things around.
I think it's interesting, something I don't hear often, that you have a rest day, a full rest day in that week. I don't know of a lot of athletes that do that, and I know that when I was being coached by Gordon, he was very keen on having a rest day, and it would tend to be a Friday before a decent session on the Saturday morning. We didn't do the double threshold, but I feel like that's an emerging trend, and we've touched on it in the pods in the past, and I think that's something that's sweeping across. Well, it is sweeping across Europe. There's a lot of groups that have adopted that double threshold, and it seems to be paying dividends.
I think it's really important, and when I have a rest day, unless I've got something on that day like work that's getting in the way, and that's why it's a rest day that day, I like to take a proper rest day. Yeah. I won't do the gym or anything.
Yeah.
The whole body resets.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I think it's wise, and everyone's different. What works for one doesn't work for the other. But I think the principle behind that is when you're working, it changes things dramatically. Like you said, when you're a student, it's a little bit different because you can afford to go down and have a nap at dinner time. You haven't got that luxury. So actually building that in is important, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a subject for like another pod. So to look at like training and rest days and stuff. Yeah, because you can do it in different spells. So I've had spells where I don't take a rest day for a while because you know you haven't got a rest day for 4 or 5 weeks planned in, you then don't run as hard in all the sessions. Whereas sometimes if you have a rest day planned in, it allows you to like empty the tank a little bit more because you've got the mecca of a rest day coming.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one. Like I guess you can tweak throughout the year as it goes on. Have you got your quick fires?
Yeah, we can go on the quick fires. There was one thing I was going to ask you though. Before we do that, quickly though, obviously you've had a long time in the sport.
Yeah.
Could you give me anything off the top of your head, a career highlight? If you could pick out one of your proudest moments in the sport or something you've really delivered on, you think that'll always stick with me, that one.
Oh, competing for Great Britain.
Yeah.
I know it's the World University Games, so I don't know if you can count it as a proper GB vest.
Absolutely, man.
That race, I don't know, there's just something about putting on the GB vest. You just feels different. And for me, I just race so much harder. Like, I see myself as quite patriotic, so I really pushed there. And being able to say you came 11th in the world, even if it's university.
That's a fantastic result. That I thought you were going to pick that one out because it is the one that stands out. Like 11th is a special result. But now we're going to put you under pressure. We're going to do a quick fire round. Nothing too controversial. We'll start off with a nice easy one. If you had entrance music to the track race, what would your entrance song be?
Oh, that is such a fantastic question. Depends the track race, because sometimes I like to get in. This isn't very quick fire, is it? I'll go for.
Took a leaf out of his book.
You know what? I'll go for The Time Is Now, the John Cena entrance music.
Oh, that is a shout! You can't see me. That is class. I like that. A big fan of the wrestling, so I'm all in for that. Top 3 sports to watch?
I'll go for football. I'll go for tennis. I don't watch many sports on, and I'll pick my favourite field event to watch, high jump.
Right, secret high jump. Right, worst roommate on a trip and why? But you don't have to reveal who they are.
I don't think I've had a bad roommate. Genuinely.
I can't make up a lie then.
Right, you know what I'll say? Very good friend of mine. But one friend of mine, we used to argue about how hot the room should be when we were sleeping. And he used to have a freezing cold room. And I liked quite a warm room. So.
Oh, I need it to be cool on a night. I have issues with if it tends too high. And the last one, nice and easy, just fill in the blank. Running is...
Great.
There you are.
There we go. Right, nailed it. Right, well, Cam, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and see us tonight. Parsi, a pleasure as always. For you guys that have just watched at home, please drop us a like, share this podcast and subscribe to the RunThrough YouTube channel. It's been an absolute pleasure and hope you enjoyed the show.